the Jiu Jitsu podcast. My name is Stacy. I'm a Jiu Jitsu and this is my podcast. So we are here at the end of season 2. Honestly, when I started this podcast, I always had hoped I would have multiple seasons. And I do have to admit that doing all of this all by myself has been a lot of work and overwhelming at times. But honestly, it's also been extremely rewarding. And I wanted to read you a message that I received on Instagram from a listener named Claire. And honestly, you guys, this message just sort of reinforces and validates why I even began the podcast in the first place. All right, so this is exactly what I wanted it to do. So Claire says, "Hi, I started learning Brazilian Jiu Jitsu about 2 months ago and recently found your podcast through an Insta-suggested post. Just wanted to say I'm so glad I did. Hearing from you and your guests about the challenges I'm facing and knowing I'm not alone has helped so much. 2 things stood out. Hearing that upper belts don't see training with white belts as a burden. I'm constantly apologizing to people for wasting their time, even though they tell me I'm not. And hearing from people who started their jiu-jitsu journey later in life who have become so successful. I'm 30 and at times I worry I've left it too late to get good at it. So yeah, thanks again. Looking forward to future episodes." Claire, thank you so much for that message. That was one of the most wonderful messages I've ever received in regards to the podcast, mostly because it came from a person I didn't already know in real life. Because, okay, so my friends and family obviously have listened and left me feedback and been like, "Hey, I listened, I loved it, this is great, keep going." And I adore and appreciate those messages as well. But the unique thing about this message from listener Claire is that I have never met Claire in real life. I don't know her through any sort of connection with anybody. I wasn't introduced to her through a mutual friend. She's a person somewhere out there in the world who found my podcast and listened, and it had an impact on her. And honestly, you guys, that is exactly what I was hoping would happen. That is exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to reach out to the other jiu-jitsu out there, wherever they are in the world, and I wanted to, kind of have a way to bring us all together. And so I'm really happy that that's happening now. So I'm excited. Thank you, Claire, for sending me that message. If you are listening to this from wherever you're at in the world, and if you have taken away something from any of the episodes, if anything resonated with you, like it did with listener Claire, then please send me a message. I absolutely adore hearing these kinds of things. It makes me so happy. Please, please, please send me a message about it. Now, let's get into today's episode. Today's episode is an interview that I did with Elaine Beiersdoerfer. However, you probably know her as Jiu Jitsu Grandma. Yes, in the interview she does explain where her Instagram name came from. Why is she called Jiu Jitsu Grandma? And why is her name Beiersdoerfer not in her profile? And I had a really great time talking with Elaine, and I really enjoyed kind of learning more about her story, where kind of how she got started, where she came from, and all the cool things that she's up to now. So I hope you also enjoy. Here is Jiu Jitsu Grandma. All right, you guys, I am so excited. I am sitting here with the one, the only, Jiu Jitsu Grandma! Thank you for being here.
I'm delighted.
Can you please introduce yourself for the podcast audience?
My name is Elaine Beiersdoerfer. I put my middle name on my Instagram account because my last name is too long. And I do jiu-jitsu. That's what I do.
Yay. I'm glad you do jiu-jitsu.
Oh, me too.
I'm very curious. What is sort of your jiu-jitsu origin story? How did you even get started with jiu-jitsu in the first place?
It was really strange. I took a judo course when I was 20. It was short, like a 6-week course. And I liked it so much, I was going to do it when we moved back to Birmingham. My husband was in school in South Alabama. But nobody taught it in Birmingham. And so I just sort of forgot about it till I was 69. And I saw some girl in a gi in a store, and I said, "Do you do judo?" And she said, "No, I do jiu-jitsu." And I went, I like judo. She said, "Well, they teach that at my gym." And I went, "Really?" So I called the gym and asked them if they took old people. And the professor said, yes, I could come. So I did judo for, a month or two. And then he said, "Why don't you try jiu-jitsu? It's on the next mat." He taught both classes. So I went, fine. So I do judo one night, I do jiu-jitsu one night. But I wound up sort of sticking with jiu-jitsu, even though occasionally I take a judo course even now, just because it's fun. But jiu-jitsu fit me very well. I really like it.
Great. Yeah, I mean, I feel like jiu-jitsu fits everybody.
There you go. It sort of depends on your mindset. I mean, there are a lot of people who do not like that close contact. Somebody in their personal space. They would not enjoy jiu-jitsu or getting sweated on. Duh. Or the amount of bruises you wind up with. That too.
I guess there is also something to be said for adapting to those kinds of things. Yeah. And how long have you been training for?
I started at 69. I'm now 75. So I've gone a little over 6 years.
Oh, wow. And what is your belt rank?
I'm a purple belt.
Yay.
I've got a stripe on my purple belt. I'm so excited to get that. But like most people, I didn't feel like... I felt more like I need to earn it now that I got it. I guess this may be the way I put it.
Yeah, no, I know that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in the 6 years that you've been training, what are some of the lessons that you've learned?
Lessons? Well, I've learned that it's never too late to start something new. Especially at my age, staying active mentally and physically is a big deal for me. I've learned that I'm maybe a little more competitive than I thought I was. Maybe a little tougher than I actually thought I was, too. And I'm becoming, I have to work at staying strong because that's, at my age, it's hard to do that. But jiu-jitsu is such a community sport. We have a very large gym. I love going and seeing everybody and talking to them and just something fun, in my life. And I have a lot of fun things. I ride horses. I got grandkids, But besides that, I guess just finding out that I actually like fighting, physically fighting. I'm more competitive. I had one of my competitors said, she smiles through her whole match, but she's growling at me at the same time. So, it's a sort of... I didn't know I was doing that. I didn't. And my professor would say, "Elaine, you have to put on your mean face. You're fixing to compete." And I'd be smiling. I said, "This is my mean face. I don't have a mean face."
Oh my gosh. I feel like I would probably do the same thing. Yeah. Oh, I love it. So since we're talking about competing, you are a competitor. You've competed.
I have.
A few times.
A few times.
Can you please talk about your experience as a competitor?
Well, my very first competition, I had just gotten my blue belt, and I went to... My professor just called me at the end of class one night and said, "By the way, I'm taking you to Las Vegas." And I'm going, "Oh, really?" To compete in the Master Worlds? Oh, really? So we went, and I won one, I lost one, and I tied two, which went to my competitor. That is the only one I've ever won. And ever since then, it's just a fluke, and mainly because of my professor who was standing, yelling things at me. And when we got up close, the two of us, he yelled, "Sweep her, Elaine," and I knew exactly what he meant. So I just kicked her foot out from under and landed on top of her, and I just didn't get up. I stayed on top of her. But I've had several matches that I was very proud of the way I did, and I've had several that I went, "Oh, what are you thinking?" I look back on the film and I go, "You're an idiot. I mean, come on," that sort of thing. So, and then you have all these people looking at me. In fact, I think they stopped the whole thing to watch one of ours, and it's like, this is so embarrassing. I mean, if I'm not doing good, then I'm really upset. Upset. But you just have to put yourself out there and give it a try. Honestly, Stacy, I think I have moved into the area that I have no competitors anymore. I'm a purple belt. Most of the people I have fought have gone to brown or black because they were fixing to move when they fought me. And now I'm almost 15 years older than anybody coming into that Master 7 group. So I'm going to be fighting, even if there was somebody, they're 15 years younger than me. They're 61, I'm 75. And I have not seen any. I mean, I've been scrolling through. I'll sign up for a few, but there's never anybody to fight right now this last year. So I don't know how that's going to go. If I get to fight any more fights, I'd like to. But,
do you ever fight in the open class?
I have. I usually fight the regular and then the open. But the open is still Master 7 purple belt. It just means weight. Yeah. That they're going to be even bigger than I am. Not only younger, but bigger too. Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm not very big. I'm 4'11", 112 pounds maybe. So I'm just not a particularly big person. And everybody I fought pretty much have been bigger than me, except for Susan. And she beat me up.
Well, you don't look any worse for wear.
Thank you.
So obviously, this jiu-jitsu journey hasn't just been a bed of roses the whole time. What are some of the struggles or hurdles, obstacles, barriers that you have had to overcome or that you're still working on overcoming?
Well, of course, there are physical things. I've been hurt several times. I usually get hurt more on the farm than I do on the mat. But I've had a few things that have kept me off the mat quite a while. And mainly, I suppose, if I'm being truthful, I'm fighting aging. I mean, I'm 75, for heaven's sakes. How many people do you know that have grandmothers that are rolling on a mat with sweaty guys? I mean, come on. It's just not
nobody. I don't know anybody else's grandma who does that.
And my grandkids say, "It's too hard." I'm going, "Your grandmother's doing it. How hard could it be?"
I mean, it is hard, but also it's a lot of fun.
Oh gosh, yes.
And it's
a lot of fun.
It's lots of skills.
And there's a mental aspect too, because as you get older, my husband and I are both dealing with the fact that we can't remember stuff. We have CRS. We can't remember stuff. And so, I'll go to the class, I'll watch the drills, I'll do the drills, I'll walk out the door and go, what the heck did we do? So sometimes I video what they're teaching so I can go home and actually say, oh yeah, duh, I got that. But then in 3 weeks I'm going to forget it. So if I had a sticky memory, it would be helpful. But I have a Teflon brain, everything slides off. So,
I mean, you're not the only one who walks out being like, oh, wait, what? Huh? I don't know. I mean, I've literally watched them demonstrate a technique, and then I don't know what happened to my brain, but it definitely wasn't engaged. And then as soon as we get ready to practice, I'm like, wait, how do I do it? What? What are we doing? Who was paying attention? And I've gotten to the point now where I'm just like, I'll go up to whoever the coach is or the professor, I'll be like, I just like blacked out when you were talking. What are we doing? So, you know, you're not the only one.
Well, we're lucky. We have several professors that teach the class, so they'll walk around while we're working, so we can always go, Professor, what are we doing wrong? I mean, and I don't know my right hand from my left, right from left, so that tends to be an issue also, because I have a sort of a weird brain. I'm left-handed, and I just do things backwards. You too?
I do too.
There you go.
Well, I mean, our professors also come around. The coaches will come around and help people. And so if I'm just like, sometimes I wait until they come over. I'm just like, I don't know what to do. Can you show me again? But yeah, I mean, I think I kind of feel like everybody like feels that way. Everybody has that. Where, because there's so many things and you're trying to kind of contort your body in different ways that you're still not used to. I mean, especially now, I mean, I'm still learning like variations on things that I thought I knew, you know, but now I'm learning like the big kid variations, you know, and I'm just like, oh, this slight difference is making all of the difference, but I kind of forgot how to do that. So then, you know, anyway, so it still happens. You're not the only one. So I don't know if that's comforting or not, but
yeah. I've had other people tell me in the gym they have a similar problem, and especially if I'm rolling or drilling with a white belt, they're gonna have trouble following the step by step. So now usually when I'm with them and I'm doing it, I'll say, okay, step number 1, we did this, then we did this, then we did this, you know, in slow motion. So we sort of try to figure out, you know, how to do that from that kind of standpoint.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and for white belts in particular, trying to figure out how to contort yourself the way that we need to, it's so overwhelming for them. So I'm really glad that, you know, people like you, people like the rest of us who have more experience are not necessarily shying away from trying to help them.
Right.
Because otherwise, how do they get better?
I do that. I'm not particularly flexible, and never have been as far as that goes. So some of the moves are a lot harder than me than others. And you know, I'm honest enough to say this is not something I would try because it would not work well. You know, I'll drill it, but I'm not going to do it well. Mm-hmm. I mean, just because I'm not that limber or for whatever, you know, reason like that. But you do find things that work pretty well, so that's good.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I'll do the same thing. Like if I try something that I'm just like, ooh, I don't know if this is really something that I'm going to do. But, you know, whoever I'm with, like you said, I'll drill it. I'll drill it with them. I'll practice it. Mm-hmm. But that's not going to be going into my game portfolio.
You know, my professors, too, they're very good about, you know, if I'll have something that I'm really not maybe able to do or working, they'll say, okay, here's an alternative. You can do this if you can't do that. Well, listen, that's great for me. And they do that to a lot of the people in the class. We have one guy that had a stroke, and so his left side does not work well. So they work very hard on helping him do things that are sort of right side dominant for him, because that's where his strength is, and he's very strong on his right side. So I like that. I like that they can modify, you know, what they're teaching to help little old ladies as well.
Well, because I mean, if you think about it, jiu-jitsu is for everybody. Like, it's adaptable. It's you know, we teach it to children and teens and young adults and middle-aged adults and older than middle-aged adults.
And then very much older than middle.
And it's adaptable for each body type, each stage of life, each age, and it still works. So I think that's something I love about it because, you know, I mean, you and I are both affiliated with Gracie Barra, like we train at Gracie Barra, and we always say like jiu-jitsu for life.
Yes.
And this is one way that you can do that, is because jiu-jitsu can be adapted. You don't have to be like this super tough bodybuilder, ninja, something or other person to be successful at this. You know, you don't have to be that kind of athlete. You can just be you.
That's right. That's probably the best thing about jiu-jitsu. No matter whether you're good or bad at it, you will still get something from it.
Yes.
You know, and that's especially helpful at my age. You know, that I've got things to look forward to. You know, another stripe on my belt. Woohoo, maybe. My professor said, you know, Elaine, you could be a black belt by the time you're 80. And I'm going, I'll need a walker to get to the mat.
Who was it? Was it Helio Gracie? That was 94 and still training until like a month or something before he died. I'm not sure. I don't remember the timeline, but he was like 90 something and still training.
I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing. My hat's off to him. Whoa. We have a coral belt coming in to teach a seminar, and he's 73. He's a 7-stripe coral and white belt, I guess. I can't wait for that seminar.
That sounds amazing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Talk about an honor to meet somebody. Whoa, I can't wait.
Yeah. I mean, he must have started as a child.
Yes.
In order to be a coral belt at 71.
There's another coral belt that's coming with him that I've already met and done some classes with. They call him Papa. He's wonderful. Not a very big guy, but boy, he is strong. I was trying to roll with him, and just his feet up, I could not get by him. I could not get by his darn feet. Oh gosh, yes. But you know, they're smart. One of the things he told me, he said, you know, you need to tell the other younger kids too that tap early when you're drilling or in class so that you don't have all those little tears, so when you get older, you can't do it anymore. Mm-hmm. And I thought that's smart, you know, not to kill yourself early on.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So I've told my grandson that, but of course they wouldn't listen to me about that.
Well, I mean, some people are the people who have to kind of learn for themselves the hard way.
Right.
So
that's true.
I don't know, maybe unfortunately.
Well, most of the time you're taught to tap when it hurts. And he said if they've got it right, you can tap a little earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I usually tell...
If I start a twinge, I do.
Yeah, no, I usually tell, especially the beginners that I work with, I'm like, as soon as you feel it, whatever it is, as soon as you feel it, then you should tap.
That's wise. That's wise. It is.
Like, I'm not out here trying to, like, twist up people's joints or whatever.
Okay, I want to ask you something. When you're doing chokes all week long, I don't know about you, but if they do that for me, I wind up sounding like Minnie Mouse at the end of the week.
I mean, you know, when we're doing a choke week, I tend to sound maybe a little bit rough, like immediately after the class. But then if I drink my water and I kind of rest my voice a little bit, I'm back to normal. What I tend to find is that my neck gets sore.
Yes, definitely sore.
Sometimes I get gi burn on the sides, but mostly it's like the back of my neck, like the muscles and stuff, they just really sore. And I'm just like, I need a massage or something. Like, it hurts holding my head up.
For sure.
Yeah. I do love chokes, though.
I do, too. But I like rather doing them on other people, not them doing it on me. So, I mean, I'm just saying.
I mean, same. You know, same. Oh, man. I was actually talking to Jen about this in the immediately previous episode to this one. I was like, I'm built so weird. I have a long torso and like short arms. So I'm like, when I'm trying to reach my arm around behind somebody, like, it's honestly kind of hard to reach behind people's backs or get super deep underhooks or whatever. But if I can get my arm around their neck, because my arm is so short, there's like no gaps. So if I could get my arm around the neck, I can usually get the choke.
Oh, yeah. Sounds
Usually,
good.
not all the time though. There's been so many times I've tried to choke and failed, but I keep trying.
That's true of everybody.
Speaking of, what would you say is sort of your favorite / go-to jiu-jitsu technique?
Now, Stacy, you should not ask me that because I'm not good at any of it. But I actually, I like the chokes the best, probably. I do. I'm fairly quick, which is helpful, but that may be the only positive thing that I got going for me. Because I'm little, I'm not all that strong. I'm certainly not very flexible. So chokes work pretty well for me, more so than maybe some other things. I've actually rolled with people that I could not get my legs around for a closed guard because they're too wide and my legs are too short.
I feel that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for real. I was actually talking to Jen about this. There's been times where I couldn't interlock my feet behind someone's back because, like, I have long femur, but then from my knee to my ankle is, like, short. Well, I think it's short. And so, like, I could get my legs up, like, but then I didn't have enough leg to cross my feet.
to hook it, yes.
So, I mean, in those situations, I just go like, well, I guess it's open guard for me.
Open guard. You better learn how to play open guard.
Oh, I remember back in my white belt days, I think white belt to like early blue belt, open guard was such a like weird mystery to me. I was like, how do people do this? And now I love it. Isn't it kind of funny how those things go?
It is. It is.
So what is a technique that you used to be totally baffled by or like struggle with a lot in your early days that now you're just like, this is second nature. This is great.
Well, if I could remember. I tend to have problems with omoplatas. Heck, I still do because I can't figure out which way I'm going. Some days I got it, other days I'm clueless. And I was really clueless at the beginning. And the professor would be turning around going, this way, Elaine. So those sort of things, anything that has a in-out things, I'm usually going the wrong way. What is it? The cross guard or whatever they call it, where your legs, one's this way and one's that way.
Oh, the X guard?
I'm thinking, no, the X guard, thank you. It's still a bit of a mystery to me sometimes. It shouldn't be as a purple belt, I understand. But still in all, if you don't practice it, all the time, and two, I don't usually get to the gym but maybe 2 or 3 times a week. It would be helpful if I could go more, but physically not so easy for me to do. So there's that too.
I think for a lot of us, especially those of us who are over 30, because I am over 30, the physical preservation of ourselves starts to become more of a priority necessarily than the pull of our heart to go twice a day every day.
Yes.
It's kind of sad. Because if I could go every single day, they have morning classes, they have evening classes, and I'd be like, I want to go to all of them. But I mean,
We have lunch classes too, which is normally when I go because it's easier for me to get there. And we live a good way from the gym out in the country, and my husband's not nuts about me driving at night, 45 minutes trying to get to and from class down a winding road, So I don't usually get to many of the night classes. I try to hit the women's class every once in a while on Wednesday night because that's really fun.
Yeah.
I like the women's class. But
do you ever kind of assist or co-teach the women's classes?
Never. No, I'm not a teacher about that. I don't feel like I have enough knowledge or that I could show it as well. Now, I usually help a partner, especially if they're a white or beginning blue belt with something, I can sort of help them with that. But as far as actually teaching, I really have no interest in doing it at all. I just probably not in my wheelhouse, truthfully.
Okay, and you don't have to.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, no.
We have blue belts that teach, and they're great. They do a wonderful job. So it does, to me, it's not always even the belt color. It's how well they can explain it and show it and do it, and they do it. They do a good job.
Yeah.
Here comes my husband on tractor. Hello, dear.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that I've kept saying kind of this whole time, is that everybody, regardless of belt color, has something to offer. And also, that just goes to show that just because you have knowledge doesn't necessarily mean that you would be good at teaching it. And I'm not saying this to you personally. I'm making a general statement because I do teach for a living. I used to teach in public high schools for 5 years, and now I teach privately. And it's like, it's an art. There's a special skill that you need to have to do it well. And sometimes teachers...
Now, teaching as far as, school teaching, I would probably be fairly good at, but just not jiu-jitsu teaching.
There's still an art to be able to show it. I mean, it's, just kind of like you said, like people who are able to show and explain and demonstrate and everything. Being a teacher for so many years, I've heard all of the terrible, jokes, about teaching and stuff. And I'm just like, bet you can't do what I do.
Yeah. Well, I have a homeschool granddaughter that lives next to me, and I teach one of her classes. She comes over here, we have lunch, and it's great. It's been wonderful, but listen, it's a lot of work for me. It may be an hour for her, but it's like several hours for me to get prepared to do whatever we're going to talk about and show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's work.
It is.
And then my daughter's saying, you could teach another one. No, I don't really. I don't want to
No,
put that
thank
much.
you.
I will if I have to. Yeah, no, thank you. I'm doing good with what I got.
Exactly.
I don't want to add two to them all. So.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry for that tangent. It was just I've heard from so many different places, just kind of the general attitude of teaching is so easy, anybody can do it. No.
No. That is really not true.
So thank you for making that point for me, basically, where it's teaching jiu-jitsu, it is not easy, and it's maybe not for everybody.
That's true. The one thing I have done is I have a number of friends, actually they're horseback riding friends, and we were out on a camping trip, all of us, and at the end of the day, we all got together and I said, ladies, I need to show you a little self-defense. They don't even know how to make a fist. It's no, you don't stick your thumb up, you're going to break it. You don't put it under your fingers, you're going to break it. I mean, they just basic things that I've learned through jiu-jitsu that would help them. So you don't panic if you're in a situation like that. Somebody's attacking you or whatever. You've got a few things in your warehouse you know how to do. I think that's important.
Oh, for sure. Oh my gosh.
To know that, and that's been a huge thing for me in jiu-jitsu, that my brain's going to stay in gear because I know a few things. I may not come out of it a lot, but by gosh, I'm going to fight it.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why I started jiu-jitsu in the first place, was for the self-defense aspect.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that is so important, is knowing self-defense. So I'm really glad that you were showing your friends. Everybody should know how to defend themselves.
Yeah, even if they remember a little of it, And my granddaughter is fixing to take a self-defense. One of the professor's daughter is going to teach her privately. And I think that's great.
Yes.
She needs to know it. She's in high school. She's 15.
Perfect.
She needs to know a few
age
things.
to start.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Every child, every young person, but in particular young women, should absolutely be starting jiu-jitsu, if for no other reason, for being able to learn self-defense and effective self-defense.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Effective self. That's good.
Yeah. So here's a question that I only just thought of when I was talking to Jen. So this whole season, I never asked anybody else this. I asked it to Jen because that's when I thought of it. And I'm going to ask you, and that is, what would you like your legacy to be?
My legacy?
Yeah.
Like
jiu-jitsu.
what?
Like your jiu-jitsu legacy. How do you want people to remember you? What kind of like imprint do you want to leave behind?
You know, I think that's already been really accomplished just because of Instagram, which I didn't even know what it was. And my professor said, "Oh no, you need to get an Instagram account." What is that? And my granddaughter set it up for me because I didn't know how. And so I get a lot of feedback from people that are saying, "I always thought I was too old to do this, but then I saw you and okay, maybe I'm not too old." That's a pretty strong legacy for me because I'm just a little old lady who lives on a farm. And there's nothing special about me or my jiu-jitsu except for the fact that I'm old and I still do it. And I started when I was quite old. So I think that's a pretty good legacy to just have encouraged the jiu-jitsu for everyone thing. I had a big poster made. The professor had taken a picture of me on top of somebody's jiu-jitsu pose, and underneath it I wrote, "Not too old and not too late."
I love that. Oh my gosh.
So,
I love that. Oh my gosh.
yeah. So that would probably be my what a theme, if you want to say that.
Not too old and not too late, definitely. Because I think if I say that to people, they're just like, oh, okay, like you're, young still. But I think hearing it from someone like yourself it means a lot more, I think, to people.
Because I'm living it.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm living it.
Exactly. So to kind of like bring this full circle, since we're sort of already talking about it anyway, what would you say to people who are maybe still hesitant or still nervous or thinking they're too old or thinking it's too late or like, oh no, that sounds great, but I don't think I can do that? What would you say to those people?
Well, I'm not sure how your gym works, but our gym usually will give you a free week. You can come to as many classes as you want and see if you like it. To me, that's usually what I would say. Just go try. It may not be for you, but you may just love it. And don't worry about your age because there's going to be people that are older than you, me included. And there's some older guys in our gym too that are white-headed. Or I think it's harder for guys sometimes because of the ego thing. Or maybe the younger guys are harder on the older guys. For me, if I'm fighting, sometimes you wind up fighting everybody in the class. Mm-hmm. If it's a guy, they normally will defend until they get sick of me, and then they just dump me off the side. But the girls are something different, though. I mean, they're fight hard. They don't care I'm a little old lady. They're going to hurt me if they can. So I have to be on my game if I'm rolling with a girl. They're going to be mean. Mean girls.
Mean girls? Oh, no.
Best friends, but mean girls.
Oh, no.
They take no prisoners. I mean, they just, unless it's a black belt. We have a professor that's a black belt, a female, and she's very good about letting me work around her,
Yeah, I find that my professors usually are.
Yes.
They because like we've seen them in action in competitions and stuff, and when they go with each other, and the jiu-jitsu that they pull out for those circumstances looks different than the jiu-jitsu they use against us.
This is true. I've had my professor, though, flip me over his head, and it's like being on a ride at the fair, at the fairgrounds. It's like, come on.
Well, I mean, they're not just gonna like lay there and like not do anything, but it's like it's different.
It's different. I don't know if you saw the video of me flipping off Professor Pedro's shoulders. This was after class. It was not during class, but I had talked to him and I said, "Would you let me stand on your shoulders and do a flip off?" And he went, "Sure, but don't blame me if you get hurt." And I said, "Fine." So the whole class stayed. They got mats out. They helped me get up on the shoulders, and it was the funniest thing ever. But the owner of the gym came up to Professor Pedro later and said, "What were you thinking?" And the professor said, "Well, she wanted to." It's great.
Oh my gosh.
Just, you got to have good friends.
Well, yeah.
So obviously I'm used to being thrown around and turned around and any variety of things like that.
Well, I think, and this is something that basically everybody else has said too, so I think this might be a common experience, is that the more that it happens, the more you adapt, or the more you get used to it, and then it's not so scary anymore.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know if when I first started jiu-jitsu, we'd go into the women's locker room afterwards, and the ladies would say to me, "Be sure and keep your mouth shut if you're rolling with the guys, because they'll sweat all over you." And then, you don't want them sweat in your mouth. Mm-hmm. And they'd stand and go, "Man, sweat, man, sweat." It's hilarious. Because, girls really don't sweat like that. But
I
guys,
do.
Good grief. I mean, they sweat through their gi and onto you.
No, I do that too. I've got my dad's sweat glands.
Wow.
Thanks, Dad.
I've actually not. Yeah.
So I've dripped on people before, although if I have the gi, I'm constantly wiping at it. In no gi, there's nothing I can do. It just drips. But yeah, I've had people sweat drip into my eye, up my nose, in my mouth, in my ear. Yep.
All of the above.
Yeah. And it's gross. But then I just kind of always joke about it afterwards. I'm just like, ew, boys are icky. Because it's they can't help it. I mean, this is jiu-jitsu. Our faces are right in front of each other's faces. And this is exercise. And, it's
and you're in a lot of positions with guys that are a little odd. Luckily, my husband is totally, he doesn't care. But I've had other girls say their boyfriends were not happy with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like it's because they just don't understand what it's about. I wonder if those are the kind of people who also maybe need to be doing jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Because, being in bottom guard is extremely powerful, so if they see their girlfriends or wives or whatever with some dude in between their legs, for a guy, that's they're trained to view that as sexual, but in jiu-jitsu, being in bottom guard is super powerful. We can do a lot from there. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing is it's kind of only powerful if you know what to do.
Right.
And I think being able to do these things, knowing what to do in these uncomfortable situations, makes them a lot less scary.
It does.
Whether you
because you're in a lot of uncomfortable situations in jiu-jitsu where you can't breathe well, people are laying on you, and if you learn not to panic, to keep thinking, so that's a big plus.
Oh, for sure. Oh my gosh, yeah.
And how to get off the ground without putting your hands down. Somebody said the other day, if you're older, you need to know how to get off the ground without putting your hands down. Well, hey, I can do that. I had no problem with that.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
I tried it the other night and I went, oh yeah, this piece of cake, I can do this.
I've heard that too.
But I'm not sure there would be.
The things online where it's just put your hands up and then sit on the ground, put your hands up and then stand up. You know? And they're everybody should know how to do this. So
it's true. Falling is a big deal when you get up in the 70s and 80s. You fall and break your hip, you're done, pretty much. And I had osteopenia when I started, but I do not now. My orthopedic guy said, "Man, your bones look great, Elaine." I'm going, it's jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Something that I think is important to highlight for women is being able to modify your jiu-jitsu to whatever your body's doing that day. I mean, I have a chronic illness, and so sometimes that messes me up. For today, for example, I couldn't really do a whole lot because I was just kind of feeling sick, but I was still there, and I was just kind of chalking it up to, well, I got out of the house, I got a good sweat on. I tried some stuff. I saw my friends,
All good things.
Yeah, all good things.
All good things.
So,
But I think people forget that, or they don't think about the fact that jiu-jitsu is just as good for your brain as it is for your body. It's a moving chess game.
yes, it is.
You got to think, and you're learning, especially for me, learning something new every time I go to that gym and trying and then having to do it. That's a big deal. It's a big deal for me, and for everybody to stay mentally in the game, and having to exercise your brain.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, super important.
Big plus. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Especially like if we have, family history of cognitive issues that come with age, being able to just kind of do what you can just to prevent as much as you can prevent, keep yourself sharp, keep your mind sharp and going, keep your body as healthy as you can.
I just got to work my way through whatever I'm having a difficult time doing and try to be successful as best I could. I'm not going to quit.
That's the thing, is just don't ever quit. I've talked about that with basically every person who sat for an interview with me. That's sort of like the biggest thing, just don't quit when it gets hard. Not if, when it gets hard. The only difference between a white belt and a black belt is that a black belt just never quit.
That's a great quote. That's a great quote.
That's not mine.
Exactly
I heard it
right.
somewhere, but it stuck with me, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's so true. And now I say it whenever I can.
And when I started 6 years ago, most of the people I started with or that were in the gym at the time are not in the gym now. And I'm probably the one the professor looked at and went, well, she'll quit. And I'm the one that didn't. I hung in when a lot of them did not.
Yeah.
So,
But
sometimes life just gets in the way. Sometimes they'll come back. Our gym is growing so fast. We're seeing new white belts show up almost every week. There's somebody new on the mat. And I try to be encouraging. I may not be a teacher, but I really encourage them to hang in there, hang on. It's worth it. Telling the girls who say, I just don't know what I'm doing, I'm saying, look, your instincts are good. You're a fighter. Stay with it. You're doing good. That's probably my only plus to the game, is just being an encourager, if nothing else. I try to be that in my gym.
Oh, yeah, and I love that. Please continue doing that. And, whoever else out there in podcast land is listening, be an encourager to those around you, just like Elaine.
This has been fun, Stacey. I'm so glad you called and asked me to do this with you. It was lovely.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
It's been so nice to meet you, too. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure, my absolute pleasure.
All right. So I really hope that you guys had a fun time listening to that interview. Also, okay, so I'm from the Midwest. I have always been from the Midwest, so my accent is one of those kind of flat, non-accent accents. She's from Alabama. Isn't her accent just the most adorable thing? I loved just hearing her talk because her accent was just so musical in my ears, and I just wanted to listen to her talk forever. Isn't she the cutest, you guys? I wish I could meet her in real life. I would give her like the hugest hug, and I feel like we would be best friends. Now, before we kind of wrap up season 2, I just wanted to remind you of a few things. Like I said in the beginning, if you have something to say, if you have thoughts, if you feel compelled to tell me something about what I've been doing or the episodes you've heard or anything like that, send me a message. Just like listener Claire. Listener Claire sent me a message on Instagram. I mean, I've got 2 different Instagrams you can choose from. I've got my email address linked in every episode, jujiteraspodcast@gmail.com. I have a Facebook page. I don't know if you can send messages on a Facebook page. So the Facebook page is just a page. I just cross-post everything from Instagram onto the Facebook page because I know not everybody does Instagram and not everybody does Facebook. So I have both. Yeah, so send me a message or send me an email. If you know me in real life, like talk to me in real life. Also, like extra, where can you find extra content? I have a Patreon. And I actually just recently posted an exclusive episode for Blue Belts and Up, talking about my feelings of finding out that I have ADHD. So that's on Patreon. So for Patreon, I made the tiers, like I named them based on the belt colors because I thought I was super clever. So it's like a white belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt. And I was like really proud of myself for that. I also have merch. Honestly, the merch started because I just wanted to wear my own logo on a t-shirt. And I was like, how do I do that? And so I did some digging and I figured out how to do that. So now I have my logo on a t-shirt. I also have a couple of other designs that I created. Yeah, everything in the merch store, all of the designs are created by me to the very best of my ability. And yes, I did draw the belt picture that is used for the Chronic Illness Jiu Jitsu Club, and most recently I updated Chronic Illness to say neurodivergent, including everybody here. So if you are a member of the Neurodivergent Jiu Jitsu Club and you want to represent that on a t-shirt, I have that option as well. For other links, I have a link tree. Honestly, full disclosure, I just got tired of linking everything in every description. I was like, this is a lot for me. So I created a link tree to have links in one spot. There's like 6 different links there because I have a few different things I put on there. And then when I link into the description box, I only have to link one thing, and it is way simpler. So click on the link in the description box. That'll take you to my link tree, and you can find whatever you're looking for. Like, I linked, the podcast link on Spotify. I linked the Apple Podcasts. I linked my Instagram, the Facebook, the merch, the Patreon. There's a Buy Me a Coffee page. I just linked all that stuff. So it's there. It is there. You can find it right there. So I am taking the majority of the summer off. To be honest with you guys, I'm extremely busy. My schedule has flip-flopped on its head, and I am adjusting to that, and it's taking some time. Honestly, I'm exhausted. So I'm taking the summer off. I will be back in August, like I did last year, with a season 2 recap and a little preview of what season 3 is going to be about. And I am going to start season 3 in September. So be looking forward to that. And I hope you guys are having a great summer. I hope you continue to have a great summer. And stay safe and be well. See ya. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like to connect with me while you wait for the next podcast episode, find me on Instagram at Jujiteras Podcast and at Jujitera. I'm also on Facebook at Jujiteras Podcast. You could also email me at jujiteraspodcast@gmail.com. If you would like to support me in this podcast, you can visit me on Patreon at Jujiteras Podcast, where you get early ad-free access to all episodes, plus some bonus content. You could also find me on buymeacoffee.com at Jujiteraspod. Thank you so much for listening. Remember to rate and review. See you next time.